Thank you very much to the Deputy Prime Minister from Government for giving us that position and, of course, refuting some of the initial arguments from the Leader of Opposition. We now call on the Deputy Leader of Opposition, representing the University of Namibia, Mr. Densley Bandulwa, to come and refute.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Densley Bandulwa and I'm a final year law student at the University of Namibia debating this motion. Now, let the fact that I say I'm a final year law student not sway members into the public into thinking that the topics that we're discussing are so complex that the Bank of Namibia called upon law students, accountant, economic students to come dissect, when in reality, I feel like every single Namibian, when put on this podium, and given the time given to me, will be able to tell you a personal story about how inflation affects their personal lives, from the amount of money that they're subject to paying for things like transportation, and the amount of money that they're subject to paying for things such as food, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like every single Namibian will be able to tell you about the important role that the Bank of Namibia has in maintaining its mandate for price and financial stability in today's debate. But before I head into my case and what I prepped for you today, I first want to take the opposition at their best. That is to say, what is their best case brought today in today's debate, and why is it specifically problematic? And you have to follow me here. One of their biggest arguments was that we have to advocate for economic autonomy. So what they're essentially saying is that we have to be less reliant on external providers, on things such as importation and things like this, ladies and gentlemen. They do not specifically state why that cannot be, why there cannot be a balance between your external reliance on external providers and your internal ability to provide for yourself. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when I looked at the minutes on the Bank of Namibia website, when they were talking about how there's been a growth in primary industries. I just forgot the percentage growth it was, but it was 2021. There's been a growth percentage in primary agri industries. That is something that they failed to identify. That is to say, even though we're exporting things from externally from South Africa, we're still able to grow our industries in order to make sure that people are fed, to make sure that the people internally are fed, and all of that things, ladies and gentlemen. But this is also one of the biggest points that they come up in today's debate. They say that we need economic autonomy in order to receive the benefits of things such as job creation and all of these things that they speak about. They totally know what this debate speaks about in the heart of this debate. That is to say that we're going to plow our economy to a prolonged recession, which means that there's going to be more job loss within their world, whereby you want to then rebuild the industries such as agri industries and those things, ladies and gentlemen, rather than focusing on how you are able to internally provide. But apart from saying that, apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, I first want to state on why their case is reliant, or why their case is largely reliant is also largely reliant on our ability to also collaborate externally. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about the PEG agreement, that is to say that when we agree to match our currencies with South Africa's, and in order not now. When we agree to match our currencies the same way, to peg our agreements with South Africa, what that agreement essentially was, that was to identify that South Africa is at least a bit more economically developed than us, and they can make better decisions. So that is the better decision, and the collaboration between us two can then foster better benefits for both Namibia and South Africa. Currently, South Africa's inflation target is between 3 and 6%, and she even mentions it in her case when she says inflation went down this year from 6 to 5%, and that's also largely due to the PEG agreement, whereby our interest is also determined by what the South African bank also sets out in that agreement. So not only in their case are they saying that, not only in their case are they doing away with that when they say economic autonomy, but they give us no other alternative. They give us the result, which is decreased inflation, but they give us no alternative in the sense of like, would we still experience decreased inflation if we did not rely on those external factors? So we feel like autonomy to a certain extent is something that is important, but collaboration is also equally important. That is also the reason for the existence of things such as the Eurozone, whereby people are able to match their prices and say price stability and things like this, but it's largely reliant on your ability to also collaborate. I'm not saying that price stability is what we should focus on, but what I'm saying saying is
Objection.
that it's flawed in the sense where they are saying that they want autonomy, but at the same time, price stability is something that they want. But at the same time, in order to get price stability, you also left things such as the Bank Agreement, which is
Objection.
largely problematic and need to be addressed on their side. But before I continue with my case, I'll accept that POI really quickly.
Thank you very much. For how long should we continue to depend on someone else's economy? Clarity? For how long should we continue to depend on someone else's economy?
Ladies and gentlemen, the reason I'm saying this is because, firstly, Namibia doesn't have the capacity to provide.
Point of information.
No country on earth doesn't have the capacity to function independently
Point
without
of
the help.
information.
Don't ask me again. No country has the capacity. No economy has the capacity to fully function without external collaboration. That is not to say that we're fully dependent on South Africa, because the Bank of Namibia also has things like also have things such as the open market operations, whereby they invest their monies into commodities and stuff like that in order to generate profits and stuff like that. Those are not things that we depend on South Africa to do, but are things that we internally calculate in order to decide whether it's something that we should go forward with. So I'm not saying we should totally rely on South Africa, but what I'm saying is it's also important that when you're talking about autonomy, you also address those specific issues in today's debate.
Objection.
Now finally, ladies and gentlemen, who in their world, who suffers most, whereby we're suffering a prolonged recession? There are some people who are able to fight out the recession. Those are the wealthiest individuals, but there are also people who are not able to. We're talking about the 46% of youth who are unemployed. We're talking about the 34% of the general public who are unemployed. And those are just 2018 statistics post-COVID. So there are more unemployed people who cannot stand the recession that they're speaking about, and who cannot stand the time of waiting for us to be fully autonomous in order for us to reap the benefits later. We do believe that there is a fine balance, but in doing that fine balance, we do believe that external collaboration is important, and not totally plunging our economy into a recession and giving the most poorest of people to be doomed within our economy, ladies and gentlemen. I believe our economy should serve us, and to the extent in which it does so, I'd like to rest our case here.